A little bit of housekeeping. Please do not pay for internet. When you go to checkout, make sure that you aren't paying for your internet. That works good. Good to go. Okay. My name is Chad Leathers, and I'm here to talk about schwannomatosis. I don't have any slides with any, double helixes or a laser pointer. To be perfectly honest, I couldn't tell you the difference between a protein model or a protein shake. But what I could tell you about is a story. And before I get there, I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to Dr. Kim Hunter-Shadle, to Min Wong, to the people that coordinated this, because it is very important. I also want to say thank you to each and every one of you because of your ability to come and be excited and open-minded and communicate with one another to make sure that we do find a treatment. That you have this belief that there is a cure on the horizon and this work is not done in vain. I'd like to ask that when you go back to the labs and to the hospitals and to the clinics, that you remember that at the other end of that petri dish, or the data, or the numbers, or the graphs, there's a life on the other side of that. There's a story. My youngest brother, Drew, he was a normal kid. There he is, look at him. And he'd run around and play like any other kid. But he was diagnosed with schwannomatosis early on in his life. And early they told us it was life altering, it wasn't life changing, it was life altering. And not too long ago, I was at a wedding. A guy came up to me and introduced himself as Drew's PE coach in the 8th grade. And I said, "Hey, nice to meet you." He said, "How's Drew doing?" And I kind of told him the normal answer, which is, he's hanging in there, it's day to day. And he said, "That was a great kid." And I said, "Drew, you're talking about Drew." I said, "Yeah, I know, man." And he said, "Do you know he was the referee when we do soccer games?" I was like, "Referee? That kid broke every rule in the book." And he said, "Well, he was a referee because he couldn't run around with the other kids. Like he was in too much pain, and he didn't want them to know. So he asked me to make him the referee." I had no idea. I've lived with that forever. He's a powerful kid. When our life with schwannomatosis as a family has been something like this. Christmases here in Baltimore. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. And I'm going to say we've had about 5 Christmases here in Baltimore with different surgeries ranging all kinds. Drew's senior year in high school, in fact, he had to have a surgery, and he recovered from a 9-hour back surgery, spinal surgery, to remove some lesions in his spinal column. And that same year, 2 months later, he recovered and he was elected prom king. But he wasn't dancing with a smile, he was dancing through gritted teeth. Schwannomatosis is so hard to describe. Pain is so hard to describe. And the effects mentally, physically, emotionally, financially on a family is truly indescribable, especially in 5 minutes. Now, Drew went on, actually after that 8th grade, he kind of muscled through and started playing football and was able to push through the pain for about a year. But a grapefruit-sized tumor in his chest prevented him from going on. But when he put off the pads, he picked up a video camera. And so he could hang out with the team, he started filming the games and putting together these highlight films. And his ability to remain resilient, I think, is a trait of those who fight NF every day. That they believe themselves that tomorrow is going to be a brighter day. I would say the question was raised, what does it mean to have schwannomatosis? It means sleepless nights with pain. It means sleepless nights with fear. It means driving 11 hours each way, almost 13 times in a year last year for surgeries and treatment. It means 180 days in a hospital last year. And it also means for Drew paralysis. There are more questions than answers. And when anyone ever asks me about NF, they're like, well, is it the worst kind? They're all the worst kind. But it's because of your efforts and your persistence that we will make sure they're all gone. You know, there is no worst kind anymore. Drew turned 23 on Friday, this past Friday. And I asked him, I said, Drew, we actually celebrated his 22nd and his 23rd birthday because last year he was here in Baltimore having a nerve biopsy done. So he was not even conscious for his 22nd birthday. And I said to him, I said, Drew, I said, what would you want me to say to these doctors? What can I tell them for you? And he said there in his wheelchair, his mechanical chair, and his hands don't work, his arms don't work, and he said, never give up. He said, tell them, never, ever, ever give up. And so to finish this, can I go through some slides and a song that my other brother Ben had wrote for him called Little Brother. I can hum it for you. Thank you.